They told the world she was nothing, that she was broken, that she deserved every whisper, every cruel glance, every rumor that slithered behind her back. They painted her as fragile, as a mistake, as someone unworthy of love or respect. And she believed them for a while, her heart shattered in the quietest corners, where no one could see. Her name became a joke at parties, a punchline in offices, a stain on every page her life touched. Every friend she had turned to a stranger. Every opportunity became a trap. She learned what betrayal tasted like. Bitter, metallic, burning down to the marrow. But what they didn't know, what no one could see in the ashes of her ruin, was that she had not disappeared. She was not done. She was listening, learning, waiting, and the world that thought it had broken her would soon wish it hadn't awakened the fire in her. She used to believe in them, in their laughter, in their smiles, in the quiet words whispered under dim calf lights. She trusted too easily, loved too fully, and the world rewarded her with cruelty. It started small, a joke she didn't understand, a glance that lingered too long. A secret she thought safe turned into a public spectacle. They laughed behind her back, soft and sharp, like knives hidden in silk. Her colleagues spread whispers that weren't hers, but sounded like they could be. Friends she confided in turned into critics. Her reputation, built over years of careful honesty, crumbled overnight. Then came the betrayal she hadn't even seen coming. The one she thought would protect her, who swore loyalty with a kiss on her forehead, handed her life over to the vultures. Her emails were leaked. Her mistakes were magnified. Her moments of vulnerability became ammunition. She walked into rooms that had once welcomed her, only to feel the coldness of stares, the sharpness of tongues. Every interaction felt like walking barefoot over glass. She lost her job. Invitations stopped arriving. Even strangers recognized her name and smirked, satisfied by rumors she never started. She cried in her apartment until her pillow was soaked, until her reflection in the mirror looked unfamiliar, hollow. They did not just burn her reputation, they burned her from the inside. Her dreams turned to dust, her ambitions mocked, her self-worth fractured. Nights stretched long and cruel. Every street, every calf, every corner reminded her of their laughter. And yet, somewhere deep, something hardened. Something small but alive. A pulse of fire. They thought they had reduced her to ashes, but even ashes hold heat. And in that heat, in the quiet despair, she began to plot not with malice, but with precision. Not out of spite, but for survival. She would rise. She had to. The night she decided she would not die beneath their whispers, something shifted. Not with fire or fury, but with quiet clarity. She breathed in the darkness and let it teach her. She had fallen, yes, but she would rise, not as the fragile girl they knew, but as someone untouchable. She left the apartment that smelled of old tears. She shed the clothes that carried their laughter. She cut her hair short, sharp, a blade of self-possession. She studied them in memory, cataloging every lie, every betrayal, every weakness they had revealed without realizing it. Knowledge, she realized, was power. Patience was power. Silence was power. She learned. She read at night, every book a ladder out of the pit business. Psychology, strategy, she devoured them like a woman starving. She trained her body, her mind, her heart. Calm became her armor. Smiles became weapons. The fire inside her burned steady, not uncontrolled, not desperate. She no longer wept for herself. She wept to remember, to sharpen her instincts, to prepare. She rebuilt her life in fragments, like a mosaic. Small victories, helpful connections, subtle investments, quiet recognition stacked on top of one another. She practiced patience, learning to wait for the precise moment when her return would have maximum impact. Each night, she traced the faces of her betrayers in her mind, not with hatred, but with strategy. She visualized outcomes. She calculated consequences. She became untouchable in her own way, invisible, underestimated, and infinitely cunning. And through it all, she rediscovered herself. She laughed without guilt. She walked without hesitation. She embraced solitude as a teacher, learning her own worth in ways they had never allowed her to. She was no longer the girl who had cried alone in her apartment. She was a woman reborn from ash and memory, quiet as a shadow, patient as time itself, and relentless as the tide. The world had believed it had finished her. They were wrong. She walked back into their world like a ghost they'd forgotten. The streets, the cafes, the offices, all the familiar haunts welcomed her with the same indifferent air as before. But she carried herself differently now, her shoulders straight, her gaze steady, her smile soft yet unreadable. No one recognized the fire behind her eyes, the patience in her movements. She listened more than she spoke, watched more than she moved. Every gesture, every word from them became data. She noted alliances, weaknesses, ambitions, and fears. The ones who had mocked her confidence now overcompensated in her presence, eager to impress, unaware that she had long ceased to be impressed. She laughed at their jokes in the right places, nodded at their ideas, complimented their successes, but all the while, she was a shadow calculating outcomes, a predator disguised as prey. Small victories came first. A timely suggestion at a meeting that made a rival look careless. A subtle nudge in a social circle that sowed doubt about someone else. Invitations arrived again, this time to her own choosing, giving her access she had been denied. She cultivated allies quietly, people who respected competence, not gossip. Each step built a ladder toward her true goal, each smile a mask hiding the storm beneath. She remembered the humiliation, the betrayal, the nights spent staring at the ceiling. They thought she had disappeared into nothingness, that the girl who had cried in silence was gone. They didn't know she had been reborn in patience and fire. And with every encounter, every whispered conversation, every carefully calculated move, she reminded herself, revenge was not anger, it was art. Precision, not chaos. Observation, not impulse. She planted seeds that would grow into reckoning, but no one would see the roots taking hold until the moment of bloom. She had returned, and yet she was untouchable. They would not recognize her until it was too late. The world had broken her once. Now, she was breaking it, quietly, beautifully, without ever lifting a finger more than necessary. They never saw it coming. Not the quiet shift, not the way the pieces moved before their eyes. She struck without shouting, without exposing her hand. Their arrogance was their undoing. It started with whispers, subtle, strategic, but undeniable. A carefully placed document here, a misdirected email there. She revealed truths only they believed hidden, turning their own secrets against them. Colleagues who once praised her mocked them now, questioning integrity, competence, loyalty. Their carefully constructed facades began to crumble, brick by brick. She confronted no one directly. She did not scream. She did not storm offices or throw accusations. Her revenge was surgical, precise, elegant. Every misstep they took, every slip, she had anticipated. Every word, every lie they had ever told, she had catalogued, ready to return when the moment was ripe. The faces of her betrayers were priceless. Shock, confusion, panic, all mirrored in the same way she had once felt when they destroyed her. Yet she did not gloat. She did not indulge. She observed quietly, letting justice unfold like a slow bloom. It was better this way, her dignity intact, their regret complete. One by one, their power waned. Deals fell through. Relationships fractured. Opportunities slipped through fingers once sure. She watched, detached but satisfied, as the world that had mocked her now questioned their own judgment, their own morality, their own worth. And in their quiet moments of reflection, when they thought no one was watching, she saw it, regret, tiny tremors of doubt, guilt, and fear creeping in. They realized what they had lost, what they had underestimated, but it was too late. She had risen from the ashes, but unlike fire that consumes blindly, she had burned with purpose. Her revenge was not cruelty. It was revelation, not destruction. It was illumination. And when the dust settled, when the laughter faded, when the whispers returned to the shadows, she remained calm, powerful, untouched. The girl they tried to bury had not just survived, she had returned, reborn, and victorious. The city felt different now. She moved through it not as a shadow but as someone fully herself, unafraid, untethered. The weight of betrayal had lifted, replaced by a quiet strength that pulsed through her every step. She no longer measured her worth by their eyes or their whispers. She measured it by her own heartbeat, steady and certain. Her mornings were her own sunlight spilled across her apartment, golden and warm, and she sipped coffee without hurry, without guilt. She laughed freely at things that once felt trivial: books, street performers, even herself. She had learned the rare magic of serenity, to be untouchable not through fear, but through confidence, clarity, and self-love. New connections came naturally. Some were friendships, some collaborations, some the beginnings of love that felt honest and unafraid. He appeared quietly, like the rest of her life, now slow, steady, patient. Not a rescue, not a distraction, but someone who saw her as she truly was, not the girl they had tried to destroy. She let herself feel warmth without suspicion, intimacy without compromise. She also let herself feel gratitude to the fire that had burned her, for it forged her, to the pain, for it taught her patience, to the world that had doubted her, for it reminded her that she owed no explanations to anyone. She had rebuilt not just her reputation, but her soul. Sometimes she walked past the places where she had fallen. Cafes, offices, streets lined with memories of ridicule. She no longer flinched. She smiled softly, almost affectionately. Those places had shaped her, and she honored that quietly. Her enemies? They were shadows of her past. They lingered in memory, not in fear. Justice had been served in silence, elegant and precise. No need for confrontation, no need for revenge to linger. She had reclaimed the story that was always hers. And in that reclamation, she found freedom. In that freedom, she found love. In that love, she found herself. She walked into her future with open eyes, open heart, and a soul unafraid of anything. Because she had learned that the fiercest power comes not from destruction, but from rising whole, unbroken, and unyielding. They thought they had buried her, hidden her under whispers and lies, but they never understood that some fires do not die, they smolder in silence, gathering strength, patience, and light. She had risen from the ash of their cruelty, not broken, not bitter, but luminous and untouchable, carrying herself through the world like a quiet storm. And as she walked forward, her heart steady, her soul unbound, she understood the truth no one could take from her. Power does not come from tearing others down, but from rising whole, from reclaiming your story, and blooming louder than anyone ever thought possible.